Greetings again, ladies and gentlemen, and we're now on Chapter 11 and looking at the learning objectives. The first objective talks about the elements necessary for an effective offer, and then what are some examples of non-offers. First off, an offer is a promise or a commitment to perform or to refrain from performing a specified act in the future. For example, I say, I will discontinue practicing my drums after 10 o'clock in the evening if you agree to not mow your lawn before 7 o'clock in the morning. So that would be my promise to refrain from doing something in the future. For this to be a valid offer, there must be serious objective intent, by me making the offer. Their terms must be reasonable. They must be reasonably certain and definite, which these are. And then it must be communicated. So, I didn't think this in my head. I actually said this to the person that mows their lawn too early in the morning and wakes me up, ignoring the fact, of course, that I keep them awake at night playing my drums. An example of a non-offer would be something like, I'd like to take you out this evening. How about, I guess I'll pick you up around 7 o'clock, huh? That would be a non-offer because there was not serious intent, to be legally bound and so forth. Okay, number 2 says, in what circumstances would an offer be irrevocable? Revoking an offer means that you back out before the offeree accepts. Once the offeree accepts your offer, revocation is no longer relevant, and students sometimes get this confused with a person backing out of a contract. We're talking about backing out of an offer before the offeree accepts, and most offers can be revoked. There are a couple that are irrevocable. The promissory estoppel would represent one type of offer that might be an example that would be irrevocable, and it applies specifically to merchants and firm offers. And in this case, the courts will look to see if the offeree has repositioned himself prior to accepting, only to realize that the offeror is about to back out. If the courts determine that repositioning of the offeree would end up costing the offeree money, the courts may not allow revocation. Another example of an irrevocable offer would be an option contract, and this one you're probably aware of. But let's say that you're going to make an offer in a house, and the owner says, okay, I would keep the offer open for 2 weeks while you arrange your financing. Of course, for this, you've got to pay me, like $500 or $1,000 or whatever. So that's called an option contract. If you are unable to eventually arrange the financing, of course, then you would lose that consideration of that $500 or $1,000, whatever you paid. The third objective talks about the elements necessary for an effective acceptance. First off, there are 3 elements. First off, the acceptance must be unequivocal. That is, you can't place conditions on the acceptance. For example, if I say, okay, I'll mow your lawn for $20 cash, and you say, oh, sure, I'll accept, but I will pay you $15 and give you this $10 gift certificate from Quickstar that I can't use. Well, that's a condition, and now so you don't have an effective acceptance. Now, in this case, of course, the guy could say, oh, fine, I'll take that. Well, then that's different. The second one is generally silence cannot be construed as acceptance. In other words, you can't tell somebody, okay, if I don't hear from you by 3 o'clock this afternoon, I assume that you're going to buy my car for $10,000, and they don't respond by 3 o'clock this afternoon, well, you don't have an acceptance. Acceptance must be communicated. A couple things to be aware of here. We have both unilateral and bilateral contracts, and we'll get into those in detail. But in a unilateral contract, acceptance might be the completion of the act requested. For example, I say to you, I'll pay you $20 to mow my lawn. You don't respond, you simply start your mower and begin the task. In a bilateral contract, however, you must respond with the appropriate words. For example, will you mow my lawn for $20? And you say, of course I'll mow your lawn. When do you want the job completed? Number 4 talks about shrink wrap and click-on agreements and how they differ from other contracts and how traditional laws apply. These types of agreements, of course, are very common today. In fact, when you bought this text, you saw the shrink wrap because the MindTap access code was included, and once you open that shrink wrap, that belonged to you, so you can't back out of that. The second one is to click on, and you see this all the time, especially when you're dealing online, and you'll see one of the first things that you'll come across is, do you agree? And of course, it's usually, how many pages long of agreements, and most of us just click on, yes, I agree, so we can get on. Because if you don't agree, you're not going to be able to access a product or service. And traditional laws generally will apply to these. And the last one is the Uniform Electronics Transaction Act, and then some of the major provisions. I won't go into the major provisions, but I think the act itself is certainly relevant. In 1999, in an attempt to bring conformity to electronic transactions, this act was enacted, and presently 48 of the 50 states have pretty much adopted it. The purpose of the act was to remove barriers to e-commerce by giving legal effects to electronic records and signatures, the same as those that would be given to paper documents as signatures. You'll read about that in detail, of course, when you go through the material in the text. Pretty interesting chapter. I wish you luck. Don't fall behind. Watch your court cases. Remember, when you're doing the court cases, please begin by stating the name of the party that won the case, not the words or terms plaintiff or defendant. Okay? Give the names of the party. Thank you, and good luck.